Hey everyone, so China has come out and said that if North Korea strikes at South Korea or the US first, then China will be remaining neutral in the war that would ensue. However, China also said that if South Korea or the US strike first, then China will prevent regime change in North Korea. Essentially, if we preemptively strike at North Korea, we will be entering into a war with China, if they are to be believed. Oddly enough, this makes the decision very easy as far as what we should do. If we do not preemptively strike, yes, it's true, we will be giving North Korea the element of surprise. They could theoretically strike at South Korea, which is most likely the first place North Korea would strike. And yes, there could very well be a great loss of life, but once that occurs, it will be mere days, if not hours, before South Korea, Japan, the US, and European countries wipe North Korea off the map. But I haven't even mentioned the fact that North Korea, even if they develop fully functioning nukes, would never use them and never engage in a first strike. They are now aware that any strike against South Korea or the US would sever their already fragile alliance with China, leaving them completely exposed. It's a terrible situation, but I think it's very reasonable to assume the alternative is much worse. Let's say we preemptively strike at North Korea. It's true that at the very beginning of this hypothetical war, South Korea would not suffer such a large amount of casualties because North Korea would be taken by surprise and probably have their artillery blown to bits very quickly. But looking into the future, we will have devastatingly world-changing consequences on our hands. We would then be in a war with China, and God only knows how long that would last. This would also give hope to the North Koreans and give them the morale to keep fighting, thus prolonging the fight. Do you think that if North Korea struck first and didn't have the backing of China, that they would even have an ounce of morale? Do you think that once they see the carpet bombing campaigns done by the US, that they'd have the motivation to keep fighting? I sincerely doubt it. And what happens to our trade with China? Our lives are greatly improved in our current state by the cheap products we get from China. We all benefit from the lower price tags surrounding us. That would be the first thing to go in a war with China. Honestly, I'd like to thank China if I could. They just made this decision very easy for us. Now North Korea knows for an absolute fact that if they are the first to strike at the US or South Korea, it would be certain and sudden death for their regime. They would have no allies and they'd be facing several nations of vastly superior firepower all at once. The best case scenario in this terrible state of affairs is for the citizenry and military members within North Korea to become fed up with the current regime and rid themselves of such an oppressive state. As I've said before, the unrest and open rebellion against the North Korean government is growing all the time in that country. Their borders are becoming more and more porous to outside influence, and that has fundamentally changed the average citizen of North Korea into people who just simply don't buy the rhetoric spouted from their government. And to just finish up, I understand the knee-jerk reaction to want to just bomb North Korea and be done with it, but the fact that this would lead to almost certain war with China, in my humble opinion, does not make it worth it at all. If you're advocating for a preemptive strike, you could very well be falling right into the trap that North Korea wants you to fall into. If we strike first, North Korea knows that although they won't end up on top, most likely the US will be hurt big time thanks to the ensuing war with China. Thanks, until next time.